But we'll make a start now anyway, so not to hold anything up, we'll go for it. So welcome to our webinar this morning. As I say, it's a webinar that's been presented by Risual, by myself and a colleague, Paul Platt, which we'll say proper hellos in a second. Just to go into some rules. So this is a Teams live event. So unfortunately, because it's Teams, because it's a live event, we're not able to sort of take verbal questions from you as such, so we can't interact with you verbally, but we can still interact with you by you submitting questions. So there is a Q&A box, and hopefully you've got that on your screens. That should be, if you want to submit a question, please feel free to do so at any point through the webinar, and we'll have a look at those, and then we'll have time for questions at the end. So we should be able to review them and hopefully answer those questions towards the end. And obviously, like I say, if you want to submit them as we go through, that's fine as well. No problem. Today's webinar, we are going to record it. So once it's done, we should be making it available through our website, through things like our YouTube channels and through our feeds that we have on social media as well. So if you have seen something in here you think your colleagues might be interested in, then please feel free to get them to maybe register, and then they can watch the video as well. And if you've got any further questions that are outside of the webinar, and we have got an offer, I'll say it now, which we'll mention at the end. If you're interested in the offer, then please do get in touch with us, and I'll put some contact details up at the end as well. Obviously, if you do lose connection, I'd probably recommend that you try to rejoin. You can, in theory, with the live meeting as well, you can rewind and go back and then catch up again to live. So again, if you wanted to, you can do that. So a little bit about Risual. If you haven't worked with us already, it'd be great to work with you in the future. But essentially, we're a UK-based technology company. We offer consultancy services, support services, training services, and we also do apprenticeships to enhance digital skills and work with our customers to help to place apprentices as well. We deliver in partnership with our clients, so we don't just we work with you. So we want to create partnerships with our client base so that we have a long-term relationship, and we can develop the trust that goes between that. This webinar is all about security and trust for sure. So yeah, that's definitely something we want to make sure we include in our offerings as well. We are a gold partner, a Microsoft Gold partner across 15 gold categories. We are also, an Azure Expert MSP. For those that know what that is, that's an extra, even higher level of certification where Microsoft come and audit us and essentially look at our processes, the way we work with customers and clients, and the way we support them afterwards as well. So when we achieved that, we were sort of, as it says there in the 0.2 percentage of partners globally with that accreditation, alongside our other gold accreditations as well. We've been doing this for 15 years. This is our 16th year actually. We're also available to purchase our services through lots of different frameworks as well. So G-Cloud 12, the DOS framework, Bloom frameworks as well. So there's lots of different ways to get our services either directly, of course, or through a framework basis. And we are a cloud solution provider as well. So what that means is essentially the things we're going to talk about today, if you haven't got the licenses for that, or you need some additional licenses, then we could potentially provide those licenses for you as well. I kind of touched on a little bit about what we do, but in terms of just delving a little bit deeper, we've got three sort of main propositions or areas of focus, if you like. So we've got our cloud transformation, we've got our business transformation, and then we've got digital transformation. So without trying to massively dumb this down, essentially the cloud transformation area is really focused in on helping clients to on their journey into things like Microsoft Azure, into Microsoft 365, the use of Office 365 and making sure you get the change in adoption for those services. It's traditional, I guess, infrastructure, if you think about it like that as well. So where you're maybe not necessarily doing a cloud journey, maybe you've still got on-premise services. It's understanding how to enhance those and how to maybe create hybrid models with cloud services or enhance your on-premises services as well. It's then moving into business transformation. That's really around, if you think of Dynamics as a cloud solution, it's thinking about how you could utilize those services and how you can enhance the business side using digital technology. Using technology rather. And then you've got digital transformation, which is all around sort of enabling data through to your clients. It's understanding how to analyze the data that you've got. It's understanding how to digitize processes that may be paper-based at the moment, and using the Microsoft services to enhance your offerings. As I said, we've got sort of 5 main ways we do that through our advisory services around business consulting. So that's about assessment and strategy and understanding how that gets done. Then we've got our consulting practice, which looks at how on a maybe per technology basis we can implement solutions based on Microsoft technology. We then have our services area, which is our managed services. So we can do everything from, say, telephone-based support all the way through to a fully managed service contract, whether that's a security operations center which we provide, or, as I say, a fully managed service where we look after servers, desktops, devices, everything. We can potentially do the whole thing. And we've got a skills area, which is all around the training and the apprenticeship. So again, helping your end users adopt the new technologies that are going in. And then finally, our solutions area is all about development of solutions that we've got that you can buy. So kind of off-the-shelf products, as well as developing solutions and innovating new solutions with our client bases as well, based on requirements that have been asked. So yeah, that's a very quick whistle-stop tour of Risual. We'll move it into the sort of presentation that you're actually interested in hearing about today. So again, just to call out on, again, depending on how you're connected, if you're in through Teams, you should have on the sort of right-hand side generally a Q&A, live Q&A area. If you go into there, if you do have a question, please feel free to post that, and then we can see those questions coming in, and then we can look to answer those towards the end. So please do post a question as we go through. And with that, I'm going to introduce my colleague, Paul Platt, who's going to say hello and then get on with the interesting stuff.
Thanks, Ian. Hi, everybody. Thanks for attending. As Ian said, I'm Paul. I'm a consultant at Risual. Been with Risual for about 3.5 years now, dealing in anything from transformation from on-premise to the cloud, or in migrations, or in securing the cloud. And one of them features we'll talk about today is Secure Score, which is all about enabling the tenant to be more secure and taking advantage of the products that you have in your Microsoft and Azure stack. So let's I got control.
Should do.
Yeah. So what is Secure Score? So Secure Score is broken down into 2 components, as I briefly mentioned. We've got Microsoft Secure Score, which this assesses your Microsoft 365 tenant and recommends changes to improve your posture and help to really secure the applications, the devices, the identities that you're using within the M365 tenant. And yeah, I'll go through that in more detail as we go through this. But us at Risual, we don't put in a tenant and just leave it. We like to make sure that A, you're getting value for the licenses, and B, that it's secure and that it's reported on. And Secure Score gives us that option to monitor and improve on the security. We've also got within the Secure Score family Azure Secure Score. That was a bit of a mouthful. Azure Score, and that looks at your Azure infrastructure, so your subscriptions, your virtual machines, and all the infrastructure, software as a service, etc. in your Azure environment. So you may have an Azure environment, you may only have a M365, so there's a secure score for both of them elements. So a little bit more about Microsoft Secure Score. Obviously they're both Microsoft, but they term the M365 as the Microsoft Secure Score. And as it says on this slide, it's to measure your organization's security posture within the Microsoft 365 stack, helps identify ways to improve that. What it does, it compares your organization against similar organizations and looks at where you need to improve and where there's potentially vulnerabilities in your M365. And there's an ability to track your score. You may put something in and there may be a new enhancement, or there could be, you add more users, or you change the way the business works, and that can all have an impact on the secure score. The secure score, as it says there, looks at the identity. So Azure Active Directory, depending on the license, you could also then look at the Microsoft Identity Defender for Identity, and then it will look at the applications. So be that Cloud App Security, SharePoint, Exchange, OneDrive, Teams, etc. Again, depending on which applications you are licensed for, and the Office 365 stack, and then obviously your devices. If you enroll devices, be it Windows, iOS, Android, etc., you've got the Windows Defender for endpoint as well, which you can use to be securing them devices. So where do you find the Microsoft Secure Score? So if you, the easiest way is the link at the bottom, but if you can't remember that link, and I'll show you in the demo, if you go into the portal, there is actually a security tab within Microsoft Secure Score. You click on that, and as you can see, it will bring you to this page, and down the left hand side you've got Secure Score, which brings up the Microsoft Secure Score console. And at that page you'll be prompted with the overview of your secure score. So it will show you, even if you've never been in and configured anything, it will show you where your organization is at that particular point. And the secure score, as you can see on this slide, is broken down into different areas depending on the, which areas you're licensed for. So obviously you'll have identity, data, device, applications, and the infrastructure. And the points achieved and the opportunity, it's broken down into categories, and it's done on a points between 1 and 10, and you may never be able to get to 100% because there may be reasons that you need to not implement a security feature, or it could be that you've just not got the opportunity to get to that because of what licenses or what different parts of M365 you have. And then there's Azure Secure Score, and that is if you go into the portal.azure.com. So that's in a different portal than the Microsoft 365. If you've got Azure, you'll be aware of that, and that's where you'll go to look at your VMs and your infrastructure, your resources. So I'll just break out of here and show you a demo. So let me just share my screen. Okay, so you should see, I'll just close them tabs. So you may be familiar if you go into Office 365, this homepage. So I've just gone into office.com. This is obviously a demo tenant, so there's not much going on in there. You'll need to obviously be an administrator to be able to view the secure score. So if you're not an administrator, you may not see the admin and you may not see the security. But for the secure, if you go into the security, as I was mentioning before, that brings you into the security compliance part of M365, and down the left hand side you've got secure score. So if we open that up, some of the things that I was talking about before, and you can see the 44.59%. That's where the score of this tenant is. Obviously, we've got multiple tenants. It's this tenant that you're signed into that it shows, and it's broken down into the different areas, and you can see some improvements here. So if I look at improve actions, this will show me what I can do to make the tenant more secure. So what we'll do, we'll pick the require MFA for administrators. What I did do, because when you do an action, it doesn't automatically update and impact the score. So what I did before, and in case we had any issues with getting onto the tenant, I created, I did have an action to enable a policy to block our legacy authentication. So this was for identity, so people can't connect not using modern auth. So I did that on the 24th. You can see that I marked it as planned. I'll show you how you can do all this. And then you'll see 2 days later, it's realised that I've done it, and it's given me an 8 out of 8. And you'll see there the score went up from 30% up to 40%. So if I go back to improve actions, depending on, like I say, what license you've got, so sign-in risk policy, user risk policy, they're obviously the Azure identity protection P2 license. If you've not got certain licenses, they won't show in here, and that's what I was saying. You might not be able to get to a certain score. It'll only show you security that you can implement. So if we just choose this require MFA for admin roles and go into there, you can see there's quite a few options in here. So it's broke up into 3 different areas. You've got your action plan. So you may say, well, for some reason, I mean, it's a bad example in this one, you would put MFA on for administrators, but if it was another one, you might say, yeah, risk accepted. We don't want to go that. For this, we'll do planned. It may be that I just assess this, and I may want to share that with one of my colleagues who actually implements it. So I can obviously put it into Teams, Planner, or email, or I can just save and close and put a note on it. It tells you who your admins are and who it's impacted. And then on the right hand side, it shows you how to implement it. So it shows you the steps there. So I'd say I've got to go into conditional access. So what this is doing, this rule in particular, it's saying if you're have an admin role and you want to access Microsoft 365, you need to authenticate for MFA. So there's the one I did on the 26th, the block legacy auth. Sorry, on the 24th, and then it registered it on the 26th. I'll do a new one now. So we'll do new policy. And obviously this is breaking out of secure score, and this is conditional access, but this is one of the requirements to get that secure score up. So I'll do require MFA for admins. We'll go in, and obviously we can choose users by selecting them manually, but obviously this is for administrators. So we'll go in, we want authentication administrators, application administrators. We will choose information protection, billing administrator, compliance, play device applications. Yeah, we want all of them. Definitely exchange. Obviously, definitely global administrator, and you shouldn't have many of them anyway. You should be looking at tools like PIM and etc. to do that. And if any of these technologies like PIM and etc. you're not aware of, feel free to get in touch with us. I think that should do network administrator, less administrator. Obviously, you go through and assess what users use which. I'm on a demo tenant, so I'm just going to choose a selection there. I'm going to do it for all apps, so no matter what they're doing, they need it. If you was using, for example, Intune, you might exclude the ability to enroll. So enrollment, because obviously you want to enroll a device, there may be other things you need to exclude, but generally, if someone's logging on, you might have AAD Connect, service account, etc. you want to exclude, but in general, that will be that. And then, yeah, location, we're not bothered where they're coming from. And then we want to grant control, but require MFA. So whenever any of these users that are part of them administrative groups try to sign on, they will require MFA. Obviously, we can put report only on and test it, etc. This is grant control. Grant. Sorry, I need to save that. That was in the way, and create that. So like I said, I've created that now. If I go back into secure score, I'll say, yeah, that's planned environment. Like I say, it doesn't automatically update. It'll check every day or two, and then it should then update it. So if I save and close, and then next time I come in, that should go up from 3.75. So if I come out of the
Oh, so that Paul's just dropped off. So, oh, no, Paul's back.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
I clicked disconnect that. Stop share.
No worries. You're just finishing off your presentation? Want me to fill?
Oh, yeah, if you want to put the presentation back up. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem. So I suppose just while that's reconnecting and the presentation's coming back on, I just wanted to, I suppose, recap on what we're saying basically with what Secure Score does. So I think for those who have done things like security audits, sort of back in the day, going back a few years, where you could kind of, and you maybe have Windows servers and that sort of stuff on premises, and there used to be a security review that you could run and security tools where you could run that against your server and against your environment, and it would report back on quite detailed technical areas, if you like, that you could then go and either lock down or ports that you could lock down and that sort of things. In a nutshell, that's kind of what Secure Score is doing, right, Paul? But it's doing it for your Office 365 in this instance, anyway. It's doing it for your Office 365.
Yeah. Any vulnerabilities, be it by identity or, like you say, of things that may be open. Obviously, it's not firewall ports in this instance, but yeah, same kind of thing. Yeah, it's assessing where there could be vulnerabilities, the potential of attack, etc.
And it's doing that based on lots of different things, but it's taking feeds from things like the NCSE standards, from US government standards, from European standards, from Microsoft's own security standards. It's taking lots of feeds from lots of different areas, and even one of the areas you can do is configure what your organization does. I believe. I don't know if you got that on the demo. Could you just
on the slides? So
it's on the slides, right? I'll let you go through that then.
So yeah, is it on that slide? So yeah, this was the just the demo I've been through, just in case we couldn't get into the tenant. So how you in previous score, how you create the conditional access in this case, and then showing the secure score to monitor it. It's not in the so it like I said on one of the other slides, it looks at your organization. So when you sign up for the tenant, you put in what kind of organization you are, be it financial or NHS, etc. And then that's how it compares your tenant to another. So if I just go back a couple, I think it showed it on one of the slides. No, I can reshare my screen and show that, but this time I won't disconnect. Let me just reshare again. So metric, there we go. So can you see the screen there, Ian?
Yep.
Yeah, so you've got here the history, which we touched on, the score, but then metrics and trends. So you can see here your score. I mean, this is a demo environment, so it's not going to show me organizations like, but if you, when you sign up for the tenant, you put what kind of organization you're in, and it'll show you compared to you against others, how you're doing as a score.
And then, Paul, if you just click the Manage Comparisons just underneath where your mouse is. There, that's it. Yeah, so you can click on that, and that's where you can then select the different types of industries that you work within yourself, or maybe it's your clients that you work with, your organizations work with. If they're requesting you or requiring you to adhere to a certain security level as well, you can maybe compare how your tenancy and how you're set up compared to how your a partner or how a client might be set up, and you can maybe look to achieve those same levels. So for example, if you're working with a highly secure a police force, that sort of area, and maybe you're not a police force yourself, you could still have a look at kind of what the gap, if you like, between where your tenant is and maybe a secure Office 365 tenant for a police force, so that you can interact together safely and safe in the knowledge that it's all secure. You've also got the facility here to add licenses in here as well. So while Paul said before, it will analyze you against your existing licenses that you've got. What you can do is have a look to see, okay, well, if I did go and buy sort of E5, so if you bought an E3 and that's what you've got at the moment, if you wanted to have a look at how by buying an E5 level, what additional features you've got available to you and how further you could improve your score, then you can do that as part of the comparison as well. So it will start to show you not just what you got, but what you could have if you bought the additional licenses. So again, potentially a good way to create things like the business case to go back into your organization to say, look, we've got this at the moment, we are secure, but if we did this and we bought these licenses, then we could get even more secure, and we could maybe break out into different markets that we could work with different customers.
Exactly, yeah. So let me stop sharing my screen.
Yeah, I'll take back over again. Cool. So, come on, presentation. There we go. So let's just get through to, flip to that. So as what Paul's been talking about there is obviously all of the M365 components. So everything that you get in Office 365, the EM&S suite, Windows 10 potentially as well is going to report through, assuming you've got things like Defender enabled, Defender for Endpoint, Defender for Identity, etc. If you've got those licenses and you've got those enabled, then your secure score is absolutely going to report on all of those for you. Now, change tack slightly. If you think about Azure and you think about on-premises equipment, you think about maybe even other cloud services, you'd think, well, I'd like to see the security posture of that. Well, absolutely you can, and you can do that with Secure Score, which is available in the Azure Security Center. So what's Secure Score? What does it do? So again, it helps, very similar to Microsoft Secure Score. What that's going to do is it's still going to help you to understand your current security situation. And again, it's going to give you recommendations as to how you can improve that security by implementing certain things, whether that's implementing patches, locking with the with this side, with this Secure Score. It's, I guess you could argue that that's very much more like the traditional sort of security review that you kind of used to do sort of on premises, if you like. It kind of will look at things like locking down ports, changing administrator passwords. I mean, you can do that in the M365, but it will look at that level of granularity because it's looking, I suppose, more on an infrastructure basis, because it will also look at infrastructure as a service and platform as a service options for you. If you think of obviously the Microsoft Secure Score, that's looking at the software as a service options that Microsoft are providing through those cloud offerings. So as we touched on here, so infrastructure as a service, it will cover Microsoft Azure, it will cover AWS and Google cloud services as well. So if you've got any of those and you're running services from those environments, we can get Secure Score to connect into them. If you've got on-premises equipment as well, using facilities like Azure Arc, we can deploy agents down to your on-premise servers. Certainly your Windows boxes, as you would imagine, your Linux boxes and different flavors of those absolutely are covered, and there are agents for those. So we can deploy this solution into there, and we can report on the security posture of those on-premise systems through Secure Score as well. We can, I mean, it needs a bit of configuring as well. We can look at network equipment. So if you think of, if it's got things like common event forwarding, CEF, capabilities, then we can potentially report that through into things like Microsoft Sentinel and log analytics, and then Secure Score can review those and start to analyze on some of those areas as well. Don't get me wrong, it's not maybe quite as in-depth as the server side of the analysis, but there are certainly postures we can take, let's put it that way, through Secure Score and reports that we can gather that way. Similarly to platform as a service, so obviously platform as a service is a cloud offering, so we can't do on-premises services there as such, but we definitely can cover the Azure, AWS and Google offerings there from a platform as a service view. So if I move this forward, so here's just a quick overview as to kind of what it looks like. I won't probably spend too long on that. I just flop straight to a little presentation, a little demo that I've got. So again, similar to Paul, I've set up a bit of a demo tenant for us here. So I'm just logged into the Azure portal. This is just the bog standard Microsoft Azure portal. I've logged in. I've got my security center up here, so I'm just going to click on that. It takes me initially into the overview. Now, I think it's probably because I've been going to Secure Score to make sure the demo works, but essentially I've got this at the top here. So I've got a way I can go straight into Secure Score, and obviously you get things like insights. Security Center will look different for you potentially based on obviously how many subscriptions you've got, the resources that you've got available to you, whether you're monitoring on premises and in the cloud, so whether you've got a hybrid scenario. So clearly this will look and feel different for you. But then if you click on under cloud security, you've got Secure Score, and then here you've got you can see straight away which tenants that we are subscriptions, sorry, we are looking at. So you can pull that together. You can also look at it in different views as well. So you can group by management groups. So if you have got different areas of your organization that are controlled by different management groups, it is all done through RBAC, as you can imagine. So if you don't have permission to see certain subscriptions in certain areas, then you won't be able to see them for obvious reasons. So if you have a higher level management group that then allows you to filter down and through, then of course you'll be able to see all the subscriptions and all the management groups and all the services that are covered there. So once you go into here, you can flick around the different subscriptions, so you can delve into a particular one, or you can obviously see something across the board. So at the moment I've just got one, so I'm just going to click on my view recommendations, and again straight away we can start to see here some recommendations that are being made. So you've got a sort of a summary across the top, and then down, let me just get rid of that because that always pops up. You've then got some of the more defined options down the bottom here. Just want to point out before we go any further at the top, so you can download the controls and the information that's at the bottom here. You can actually download that into a CSV report, so you can kind of, I suppose, take it offline and have a look at it and do some manipulation there. There is also a way that you can connect these dashboards of this service into Power BI as well. If I just go click on here, so there's a Secure Score API that you can connect into. So if you want to programmatically, if you've got some facilities or some scripting scripts that you wanted to use to interrogate, or some logic apps that you'd want to use to look at secure score, then you could do that. We at Visual have developed some support offerings. So we use this when we're looking after customers to interrogate tenants and secure score information. So we can kind of get a posture, and we can take a scrape, if you like, at a point in time, then do some work and obviously prove that, well, hopefully prove that things have improved. So we can do that, and you can do that through APIs. And then you've also got, if it comes up, there we go, the Secure Score Power BI tool. So you can kind of have a look at that. There's an interactive dashboard there again. So if you don't necessarily want to give, if I think about how IT teams are working at the moment, you've kind of got maybe the people that are day-to-day going into the environments and looking after these systems, and then you've got a level of, I suppose, reporting and management, I suppose, that want to see what's going on in the environment, not necessarily doing the do, but wants to see what's our security posture, what's our report. So they may not, for whatever reason, have access to the Azure portal, but what we could do here is extract this information and present that through a Power BI dashboard, so they can still go through and interrogate and have a look at the data, but then maybe, excuse me, not go in and make the changes necessarily, but they can certainly report and see where things are at. So there's lots of, as you can imagine, there's with Azure, well, not dumbing down what Paul did, but absolutely the Microsoft Secure Score, it's very good actually, giving you very pointed kind of, go do this, click this button, and it'll take you there, and this is how you then do that, and this is how you improve it. If you think about Azure and Secure Score, this is, I suppose, there will be some that you can click on here that will give you a very much direct, you should go and do this, and this will improve. But there are, I suppose, more recommendations here. So if you think about the sheer nature of what's happening, they're looking at potentially on-premise systems. Obviously, Azure doesn't have all of the information. It doesn't necessarily have something to quite compare you with, like the Microsoft one, the Microsoft Secure Score one can do. So this is more about finding some areas, reporting on it for you, and then giving you a few recommendations as to how you can improve. So the ones that have come up here, it's obviously giving you the fact that I've only got a virtual machine, single virtual machine in here. But for example, we've got log analytics health needs to be resolved. I'll move that over a little bit, that'll be better. It needs to be resolved on a particular virtual machine that I'm running. So I've got one virtual machine that's running. That's saying it's not running the log analytics health agent. So it's recommending that I go and basically deploy the agent and put the agent onto that server. So it's given me the description here of what the problem is. It's then given me some recommended steps. And this is saying, in this instance, it's giving me a manual remediation. So to resolve it, basically go and see the different resolution options and for each of the issues. And you can click on follow the instructions, and obviously that takes you off to a, oh, it's opened on another page, takes you off to a link, if you like, where it's going to give you some recommendations there. And then what you can also do is, if you think, right, I've gone and I've resolved this, or this doesn't apply to me, you can actually mark this as being exempt. So you can tick that box there, and you then have to basically give it a reason as to why you've mitigated that risk. So why you think you're exempt from this not applying to you. So I'll just give it mitigated. Let's call it test, for example. Click create. And that now is going to change the policy so that it's not going to report on that for this device anymore. If I come back to recommendations for a second, if I just pick another one. So this one here is that the log analytics agent should be installed on virtual machines. And it's given me the, again, the description here. I've then got remediation steps. Now this one is actually a little bit more intuitive is the wrong word. It's giving you more feedback here. So what it's trying to say here is there's actually quite a quick fix here. So what it's going to do is, if I click quick fix, basically this here is it's created a script for me to go and copy and create a JSON script or a PowerShell script to basically run that on my virtual machines. And by doing that, that's going to essentially install my log analytics agents for me. So it's giving you not just obviously the manual way, but it gives me some scripting and some processes I can follow to with some logic there to help me to get this problem remediated. If there was, and typically here, because it's a script and it's basically rolling out an agent, there is a way, if this was an Azure, if I had an Azure virtual machine on here that hadn't got the log analytics agent, I can see the resource in the list. It's saying at the moment I have got this server here which is healthy, but oops, let me just go back a second, sorry. If this was an unhealthy resource, I can tick a little box and then I would get the button here to fix. Now, basically what that would do is automatically go and the script that's created here to go and get it installed, it's going to basically go and take that script and run it against the resource that I've selected or the multiple resources that are applicable to have this applied to. You can also see the refresh or the freshness interval. So this has been analysed and checked in the last 24 hours. And that's also just a point, you can, when you look at some of these other ones, it's telling you how regularly it's going to refresh and have a look at the security posture for each of these. So obviously it's only going to check if there's a log analytics agent on certain virtual machines every 24 hours, whereas this one in particular, what's this doing? Storage account should use a private connection. So it's going to check that every 30 minutes unless you tell it you're exempt. So that's a bit of a demo of Secure Score. Let's just go back to that. So just a bit of a recap then. So in terms of Secure Score all up, you've got, as we said, we've got the two different variants. You've got the two types. So you've got the Microsoft Secure Score and then Secure Score, just to confuse things. In terms of which services they protect, so as it says on here, your software as a service options from Microsoft, so your M365, your Office, your EM&S suite, your Windows 10, etc. That's going to be covered by your Microsoft Secure Score. And how do you access that? That's done through the Microsoft 365, Security Center. Then if you've got platform as a service or infrastructure as a service services and you want to protect those, where's it going to protect them from? Well, it can do that through Azure, AWS, Google, and it's going to do that through Secure Score, and then you'd access that through the Azure Security Center. In terms of our security journey, just to throw this into the mix, so we have, as I touched on before, we've obviously got lots of consult options, we've got strategic options, we've got support options that we can work through with you. So this is what I call our security journey that we like to take customers on. So we start over here on the left-hand side, and these are, each one of these boxes is essentially an engagement that we can offer you, whether that's a strategic service, looking at things like Azure security, modern work security, and then we can have a look at assessments as well. So we can provide you with a strategy on how you could implement things initially, and follow that up with, if you've already got those sorts of implementations, we can assess what you've got initially. We've then moved that through to looking at security and identity planning. So thinking about how you might plan your identity for a cloud identity, whether that's Azure AD or how you do the hybrid models there. We can understand how that could be implemented. Look at security for Azure, look at security for modern work. Sorry, just to say modern work is your M365 components. And then we can look at how we could improve the security for modern desktop and Office 365. So that's your productivity and teamwork security. And then finally, in our sort of support area, we've got this sort of full security operations center. Sorry, if you took the full service, we could do the whole security landscape for you by offering a fully managed SOC. If you didn't want the full managed SOC, but you wanted components of it, we can offer those through sort of SIEM and SOAR, and those two products essentially are based on Microsoft Sentinel, and then or Azure Sentinel, sorry, and using that service to look at SIEM and SOAR. And then we've got modern work security, so kind of using tools like Secure Score and the security and compliance suite of products there to monitor and manage your security endpoint posture. And then you've got your endpoint security as well. So we could look at looking after your endpoints, so your Windows 10, your iOS, your Androids, your tablet devices, etc. We can help and look after those as a fully managed service for you. Again, looking after the security posture and connecting them in securely into your environments. So any questions? I'll open it out. I can't see that there's any been submitted through the questions portal, so please feel free to do that now. We have got time to answer a few, so please feel free to shout them out. Just a couple of questions, I suppose, while we're waiting for any to come in. So we did think about some that you might be thinking about. So Paul, I'll ask you, so in terms of secure, well, there's Microsoft Secure Score and then the Secure Score, isn't there? So how much do they cost if I wanted to buy them?
The actual Secure Scores, they're free. What they will report on is dependent on the licenses you buy. So obviously, if you've not got E5 licenses in M365, for example, you're not going to get about risky signing users and etc. So the benefits of that E5 wouldn't show up. But in terms of just being able to look at your Secure Score in either, then yeah, as long as you have a tenant with some licenses on for the products, then the Secure Score is free.
Yeah, and then I suppose so again, what kind of recommendations are included in the Microsoft Secure Score? I think we've touched on some of these, but it's worth just maybe mentioning again.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it looks across identity, apps, devices, etc. So if for some reason there's a chance a user can be compromised, so it can give you stuff like putting self-service password reset on, for example, where that's more helping the user. So down to things where I've put on there, putting MFA for admins. It can tell you, various different things. I think the other one I did was legacy off, if that was on, because legacy off, Microsoft doesn't have the tools to be able to monitor that like modern off. So what it will score you on are basically things that Microsoft know about. Again, it can look at all the identity stuff in terms of identity protection, being able to secure it through phishing. It can look at your Exchange and your SharePoint. So anything that Microsoft is in the 365 stack, it can do. Obviously, if it's outside of that, it doesn't know about it. If that makes sense.
Yep, that's good. I mean, personally, I don't think people are using, customers and clients aren't, well, to my knowledge anyway, aren't using Secure Score anywhere near as much as they should do. I can see a point in the future though where by using Microsoft services, and especially Office 365, I think about that in particular for a second. You're obviously, by using those services, gaining a certain level of security posture anyway, by kind of using those cloud services rather than sort of providing those services from an on-premise. And you've got to think about, how are you locking those services down as you're providing them on premises and then to your own users. So I can see a point in the future where, customers and clients will ask you, what's your Secure Score? What is your percentage score at the moment? And if you're not high enough, if your security posture isn't at a big enough score, a high enough score, then they might not work with you. Or your customers might not want to interact with you because you can't prove, I suppose, how secure you are. Now, I'm making a very big assumption there. I'm not saying that that's actually going to happen, but I could see that. If enough people start to use this free service, as Paul says, why wouldn't you maybe start to have a look at some of those areas?
Yeah, because like I said earlier, one of them, for example, is users can grant access to applications, and you may not know about that. So you know, if on Secure Score that looks at things like that as well. So you know that's probably something somebody wouldn't think of. You know, you put your app in there, people have permission to get in it, but by default, people can invite guest users, so that Secure Score can pick up on stuff like that and say, you know, you want to block that, and rightly so. And if third-party people was using that app as well, you could see how it could become quite compromised.
Yeah. And we've actually had a question come in, which is really cool. So thank you for that. So the question is, Paul, can current recommendations from each of the Secure Score products be delivered periodically by email? So I know the answer from an Azure perspective. Do you know the answer from a M365 or the Microsoft Secure Score?
So do you mean in my demo I showed you where there was a bit where you could go in and look at the recommendations and you can set them to send email notifications out, and again, a bit like you showed in the Azure one, you can export the recommendations as well.
Yep. So the answer is, in a nutshell, yes. on both, which is cool. So there's slightly different approaches to the Microsoft Secure Score one. So if you wanted the whole security posture to be sent on an email regularly, there are different ways to, I think, potentially achieve that. You can also query it through PowerShell as well. So you could do that and get it to report through to you if you wanted to. As Paul says, there are email notifications you can set in the Microsoft Secure Score. In the Azure sort of version, the Secure Score, we know this was going to be difficult as we came with the presentation, right? But the Secure Score one, again, as I said, you can query it through multiple different ways. Actually, there's probably more. Not that I'm poo-pooing the Microsoft Secure Score one, but there's probably more ways you can interrogate the Azure Secure Score one. So you can do that, like I say, through APIs, through PowerShell, not PowerShell, sorry, Power BI even. And there's lots that you can get it to interact quite, or you can interact with it quite heavily. So again, the answer to that is yes, you can absolutely configure a method, I suppose, of going and getting the data and then emailing that to you. So the answer on both of those accounts is very much yes.
And to pick up on that, Ian, it's not in the security score part, but in the security part, there is a reports which does look at the security, yes. And that does look at you know, reducing your global admins, looking at DLP policy matches, for example, looking at devices and users that potentially at threat. It's part of the security reports rather than the secure score reports.
Yes,
because the secure score is to review and recommend and you know, mitigate where the report is giving you what is. So yeah, it's not in the secure score, but it's in the same security, you know, module portal. Sorry, yeah.
Cool, good stuff. That's a really good question. Thank you for asking that. Obviously, if there is any more, please feel to post. Even if we don't get a chance to answer that now, we can come back to you anyway. So yeah, please feel free to post still. So we're going to finish this off. We're a couple of minutes away now from the top of the hour, so we're just going to finish off with a quick thank you. Obviously, we have said if you want to contact us, if there's further information, further questions that you've got, please feel free to phone us. Obviously, got the website. Hopefully, if you're an existing customer of ours, you've got an account manager and you know the details of who they are. Please feel free to get in touch with them through your account manager. If we've worked with you and you've had consultants on site with you before or working with you before, then again, please feel free to get in touch with those. If you've got information on them, like email addresses, Teams addresses, etc. Anybody and everybody at Visual will want to talk to you, so please just get in touch with us. We've also got LinkedIn, Twitter and Facebook as well, so please hit us up on there, follow us, like us. Molly will kill me for not saying the right terminologies, but yeah, just get connected with us that way. And then finally, as a bit of an offer, we've kind of come up with a security review engagement. So what we're trying to achieve here is by coming in and having using the tools, setting them up for you, doing some of the analysis with you and alongside you, doing a bit of knowledge transfer on some of the points that Paul has raised today about how you can kind of mark things as being done, and having a look at the recommendations that have been made, and then reviewing, is that really something we should be doing, or how would we go about doing those things, whether that's in the Microsoft Secure Score or the, let's call it the Azure Secure Score or Secure Score. We can look at both of those. So this engagement across 4 days is basically designed to help you and to do that with you. So again, you know, that's an offer that we're putting out there through the months of July and August, I believe. So you can obviously take it now. We're a couple of days away from July. So yeah, if you're interested in that, please get in touch, and we'll see what we can do to help you with that. And with that, I think, yeah, that's the end of the deck. Sorry, I didn't mean to just stop presenting. So I'll just close that down. Thank you very much for, oops, swap my screens around. Thank you very much for being part of the presentation today. Hope you've enjoyed it. Please feel free, I'll put the get in touch with us slide back up as well. So if you want to take those details and get back in touch with us, that'd be great. Thank you very much.